Okay. Buenos dias. Well, thank you very much for inviting me for this very wonderful symposium for this big Spanish AI project, and then looking forward to all the fruitful discussion throughout the day. And also, we have internal discussion and review tomorrow morning. And then, well, obviously, this AI is like a big topic. I mean, everyone looking into this, and then, you know, for long timers for AI, you know, AI boom sort of come and go. You know, there's a big AI boom, and then we have AI winter, and then, you know, then another AI boom, and then another AI winter. But at the same time, like, you know, things started with the, you know, what have researchers have done during the winter time, and that resulted in the deep learning, and then capability of deep learning was clearly demonstrated sometime around like 2012, and then people start realizing there's a yet, you know, another big shift in the capability of AI, and then you know, that's been widely used, and still I think it's a really important technology, and that's combined with the reinforcement learning quickly, and it became like a deep reinforcement learning, and then one of the training methods we got is generative adversarial network again. So we start having all the generation capabilities, and then you know, adversarial you know, training and improve the training, and then we get the generative AI, like, you know, primarily based on the transfer model and the diffusion model and the combination of that. So we're seeing like this like a technological evolutions, and then you know, backed by the series of you know, theories, and that's what we are looking at it. Now, my topic today is Nobel Turing challenge. This is a grand challenge, and many of you may know RoboCup, which is the another grand challenge that started like almost 30 years ago to win the World Cup champions by the fully autonomous robotic system. And that challenge is focusing on more agility and teamwork and, you know, dynamic perceptions, and that is like a whole point of challenge to actually bring the you know, AI and robotics to the next stage. But what's missing in the RoboCup is actually the kind of intelligence you can spend time and think deeply, and then I got the, you know, a lot of reasoning, and then you know, got evidence, and then take your time, and then you can take time. But it's not really like a football. Like you can actually spend like a couple of days and creating a hypothesis, doing an experiment, verify that, aggregate knowledge, and that kind of intelligence RoboCup doesn't really capture. So I thought it'd be good to have yet another grand challenge, which focusing on the really deep thinking, and that will revolutionize the way we push our civilization. So therefore, I decided to take a challenge of scientific discovery, because our civilization is driven by the science and scientific discovery, mostly. There are other aspects as well, but like anyway. So Nobel Turing challenge, I'll come back to this, but I think that is like a very obvious, like can we actually create AI scientists that may make a series of discovery, some of them worth Nobel Prize. Then the question is, if we create that kind of AI system, is it gonna be like a human being, therefore we pass a Turing test, or it's gonna be a very different kind of intelligence? And that is the question we have. Now, before going to Nobel Turing challenge, I would like to introduce like Sony AI. This is the dedicated AI research organization within the Sony group. Sony has like a very long tradition of AI and robotics. Some of you may remember Aibo, which is a robotics dog, which we you know, commercialized that in back in 2000. And then, you know, we had the AI and robotic tradition way before Aibo, but like then that one of the significant like showcasing and productizations is like Aibo, which is actually the first autonomous robotic system sold in the general public market, and that happened in 2000. And then we thought like you know, a few years back we thought like we should have like a high-level dedicated research group for the AI, and we decided to create an organization called Sony AI. And we have a Sony AI operation in North America, and then, US operations pretty much headed by the Peter Stone and Peter Ullman and those people. They're covering it in the whole operation, not just like a US, but like they have like a especially significant role in the operation in the US. We have operation in Zurich, and we have operation in Tokyo and India. And recently, we opened a small office at Barcelona. And Sony AI, we have a few grand challenge topics. One is on the gaming, obviously, which I'm going to talk a little bit today, is that, gaming, PlayStations, and that's huge business for Sony, and one of the fastest business for us. And then, of course, gaming has been a fertile ground for the AI. Since its inception, you're talking about you talk about chess, and then AlphaFold, solve the Go, and of course pokers, and then all other things as well. So gaming has been a really traditional battlefield of AI, and we also being one of the biggest gaming platform supplier with the PlayStations. That's a very obvious choice where we go deeply into the game. At the same time, we're working in the robotics and image and sensing, and Sony provide a 60% global share of the image sensor. If you have iPhone, that image sensor is Sony branded. It's a Sony image sensor. Usually, Apple don't want a supplier to disclose that we are supplying this to Apple. So this has been long kept a secret. But a couple years ago, Tim Cook visited a factory in a semiconductor factory, creating the CMOS image sensor, and he tweeted himself. So now we can talk about it, that we are supplying image sensor for the iPhone. So that's very important for us because we are the biggest, largest company providing image sensor around the world. So how are we going to combine this image sensor, vision capability, and AI? Also, we still have a legacy, tradition of the robotics, combined with the robotics, yet another thing. And an AI for creators, and this is for music and movie productions and anime, and then the Sony is a company for creators. Our business is on gaming, and so we have a game and then a film and then a music, and as an entertainment sector. And then we have hardware for the cameras to be able to film, and audio system to produce and listen to the music, and a semiconductor enable you to capture the scene. Okay, so that is the whole business of the Sony. And then we are very careful and very active at the same time, very careful how to use AI for the creators. And AI for scientific discovery, and that's actually, we're starting a small team in Barcelona doing that, and also AI ethics, that's a very important topic as well. So one of the things we have is this Gran Turismo, and then, okay, I think I have movie things. Okay, it's not. Okay, sorry about this. If you play a Gran Turismo, and in the most recent release, we had an AI agent called GT Sophy. And GT Sophy is the deep reinforcement learning agent. We use the gigantic cluster, and play a lot of games, and train the superhuman driving agent. So that requires race car control, millisecond, sub-millisecond control of the car, and also racing tactics when you actually overtake and when you're not, and then how you're going to balance that. Also racing etiquette, because you have sportsmanship for the racing. You can't really randomly bump into other cars and push it up. Then you got a penalty. So you have to be able to be aggressive at the same time. You have to keep the sportsmanship. So it's really the soft criteria rule. How you actually implement soft criteria rule into this AI has been really the challenge, but also implication of the AI ethics and alignment as well. As a result, we got a paper published and in the front page of the Nature, and this is 2 years ago. And so what happened is we trained this AI system, and the AI system raced against the top player in a human top player in the world, and then the AI system won against the best human in a big margin. Okay, so For example, like in terms of the time trial lap time, like I think we had like 1.5 to 2 seconds faster than the best human driver in a time trial. In racing conditions, like all the overtake and all the maneuver, still actually has been really very competitive and wants all the race that we tested. And if you know, like Formula One, of course, you have like Grand Prix. I think it happened like a month ago, actually, in after Barcelona. Like if you imagine that the goes like 1.5 second a lap is huge, actually. That's a big margin. Okay, yeah. And then of course, like that's interesting. 1.5 second exactly when the Michael Schumacher decided to come back, and the time gap lap by Fernando Alonso and Michael Schumacher, it was 1.5 seconds, 1 to 1.0 seconds. So like Michael Schumacher was asked, like they says from the paddock. They actually communicated that, Michael, you are 1.5 seconds slower than Fernando Alonso. Ask Michael Schumacher to push. So that is like a big time lap, actually. So we have like all the race together campaign, and then we have a lot of, we covers like, I think we covers almost 10 racing track and almost all the cars. Probably, I don't really remember the exact number now, but I think either like 240 cars or like 300 cars. So like most of the cars, like we adapted the agent to be able to drive and get the proper vehicle control, and the 10 racing circuit. I think we are gonna expand more in coming years. So like GT Sophy 2.0, so that's the, if you got a PlayStation 5 that you enjoy. So this is one of the biggest like deployments in the AI agent for like, general public and all the gamers. Okay, now in terms of the scientific discovery, we fielded the team, we actually started a team in the Barcelona, actually. Barcelona team is responsible for the scientific discovery. And then, so like, we still have like a very small team at this moment, but I think I hope to be very active in coming years. Now, so let me go back to this like a grand challenge. As I mentioned, like RoboCap has been a model. RoboCap has been enormously successful in providing the pushing technology and creating the community, and not just like a technology side. But RoboCap has a RoboCap Junior, which is the education aspects. Like many kids getting involved in the science and technology, and some of them decide to pursue grad school and a PhD, and probably now the junior fellows in many of the universities. So I think we're creating an ecosystem, top-notch researchers and the kids, and also like some of the spin-outs. For example, like one of the very successful example is a Kiva system, later acquired by Amazon, became Amazon Robotics. The base technology was for the small-sized Lego RoboCap, and then Ralph DeAndrea, who's now in the ETH Zurich, and then Peter Ullman, who's now joining Sony AI, and then one more like the CEO of the company who's specialized in logistics together create a company called the Kiva System to automate the warehouse management. And 5 years later, that was acquired by Amazon and turned into Amazon Robotics. It really changed the way we do the like a warehouse management. So like this, and then with the more it's coming. So we like to actually take a similar path in pushing scientific discovery. So it's a grand challenge. Is Nobel part is a challenge, shooting challenge, part is a question, as I mentioned briefly before. So a challenge is that by 2050, can we develop an AI scientist that makes a Nobel Prize worthy scientific discoveries? Okay, highly autonomously. It's not like independent tools, but like an autonomous AI agent to make a scientific discovery, and that's the whole point. Okay, then the question is, will this such an AI scientist will behave similarly to like a best human science, so we won't be able to distinguish that, or is it going to show very different kind of intelligence? We can obviously, wow, this is AI. Human cannot do this kind of AI, research strategy or research tactics. So then which one are we going to be? Most likely going to be the alternate form of intelligence. Then that's fine. Then we will actually work with such AI scientists, like the human type of intelligence and the new type of intelligence working together. But if AI is very close to the human scientist, I think what our way of thinking and doing in science is probably not bad. Probably like show another example of optimality maybe. Well, we'll see. That's kind of interesting. So like two sub-goals. To achieve that, we need to develop an AI and robotic system that can perform the biomedical biotechnology or material science or engineering research as well. That is the major discovery. Then at the same time, in order to do this, the machine make the strategical topic and communicate in form of publications, and the means to explain the value and the method and the reasoning and the discovery. So it's just not doing the things in lab. We have to be communicative because science now is a teamwork. So the scientists may need to lead a team or be a part of a good team and then talking to the other scientists as well. Or the other science could be human or AI. We don't know it. That's most likely that could be the AI and AI communications. So this became a really interesting building communities. We start initial workshop back in 2020 at London, just before COVID. Well, actually, it was in the middle of COVID. We thought it was the COVID not coming to London. That was a really bad idea, actually, when it was there. But anyway, and then we have a series of workshops, and obviously in the COVID time, the virtual, and then at the CMU, Stockholm, Washington, D.C., and Tokyo. And next week, we have another one in Singapore. So after this, I'm flying directly to Singapore to have a 3-day workshop there. And then Singapore government decided to spend quite a bit of investment, quite substantial investment in this area. And so that will be, also this AI for scientific discovery is nothing new in terms of how things get started. And in the very early days of AI, this is just 3 examples. I think that obviously there are more to it. And then dendron, metadendron, and the Eurisco, and the bacons, those AI studies to actually produce a discovery. Some of them Kepler's laws, some of them inorganic chemistry and organic chemistry, and then there has been a traditions. So what's different is actually we're trying to integrate experiments and the AI with massive computing power and the data, and we would like to have a machine to behave rather autonomously, rather than given a specific task and try to solve it. And also, many of the early stage AI discovery research has been how we can rediscover something we already know. And what we now, people looking into is can we discover something we don't know and has a huge value in biomedicine or material science and then planetary science as well. So one of the first example, which I think is very interesting, is limited, but the first example for the closed loop system built by Ross King, and then now in Chalmers. At the time he was in Manchester, I guess, is Adam and Eve system. This is the closed loop system. That means no human in the loop. At the same time, a task is limited. Task is yeast genetics. So this AI system and AI robotic system generate a series of hypotheses for the genetics of the budding yeast. Okay, it's a baker's yeast. And then run experiment to verify that hypothesis. And then going on. Okay, so this is limited for one type of hypothesis and limited for the one type of the experiments and in the verification. But the same, this is the first system, no human in the loop. Okay, so now Ross and I actually, for working there, can we actually expand this to be much more flexible and significant? Okay, so the thing is, my perspective, the scientific discovery is perhaps in the pre-industrial area. Right now, if biomedicine, we have a next generation sequencer, so large scale sequencing machine or mass spec or for all kind of machinery to generate a lot of data. But at the same time, when you analyze the data, you have to scratch your head and think, what is this? Okay, and that part is not changing at all, actually. It's just we have a big machinery to create data, but how are we going to do this? It is still, we have to really think, Now, then if you look at remember how we make a scientific discovery, then we often talk about serendipity. And people talk about the very fortunate accident in the experiment or a scientific intuitions. Those are very nebulous, very ambiguous thing. And if you look at the very carefully Nobel Prize archive and an interview with the winners, surprising number of winner laureates actually says, I was very lucky because I screwed up the experiment. And then I found out something interesting. So I think it's very important for the scientists who come up with like a discovery for the experiment that screwed up, is mindset was pretty much ready to capture something unexpected. So that's a good part. But at the same time, those laureates need something to be screwed up. So that means if you have to do all the sampling in hypothesis space, actually they got like a completely unexpected hypothesis space where like a really big innovation there, rather than the place they are looking into. So that's one example. But talking about this is we still don't know how we do big and major scientific discovery, and we're kind of for those issues, I published a couple of papers, so I think you want to take a look at that. But what I think is really the issue is the limits of human cognitions, because if you work in a biomedical field, probably the material science are the same, but more specialized in the biomedical area. Okay, we have 2 million papers published every year in a biomedical area, field. And if you actually measure for the oncology, probably 250,000 papers, and you cannot read it. That means every day you got thousands of papers. You think you just read the important paper, but how you tell which one is important and what is not? You only read the Nature, Cell, and the Science, or there are many important papers in other places as well. So it's almost impossible for us to reach out to what's been discovered, what's the frontier. So we think we know something, that we just know the very fragment of the information which we think is important, and then within our cognitive capabilities. So with a huge budget spent on science, we are not taking advantage of that. We are not really taking advantage of it. So can we actually change that? And then also we have an innate bias of the things that we look at it. We have an underlying bias. So that's became a little problem interpreting data. And so we have this one, the information horizon problem. That is, we cannot access all that. The information gap problem is we communicate in natural language. So something we saw in the reality and what we express and we communicate is very different. And there's also the contextualities there. For example, in Spain, house in Spain, a casa. And if you say casa, what kind of color you associated with? I think probably the white and probably red roof and the blue sky maybe. But if you have a Japanese translation of casa ie, that would be wood and gray and probably rainy. Depends on the time. So all the contextuality associated with human language, that we actually brought into the science as well to some extent. And that became a problem. So particularly in the clinical setting, this actually became a really big issue as well. And all the phenotyping and inaccuracy problem, and I'm not going to too much in detail, but there are a lot of limitations in our cognitive capability in doing the science. For example, this is an interaction map of the budding cell cycle, which I created reading 1,000 papers. And this is the gold standard. Go into them, all the details, and this is what we're. And we did it in 2010, 15 years ago. And we spent a year, and then a team of scientists who specialize in the biomedicine, Eastern molecular biology, spent time on this and created it. And then we cannot update it. Why? Because it's a really painstaking task, and psychologically, it's not possible to keep going for years. And also career perspective, if someone doing this for 10 years, what their next career perspective? Because only thing this person does, what team does, is read a paper doing this. So it's very difficult psychologically, and then also the career perspective is not possible to keep doing by the humans. So we are converting this into the AI, and then the AI to read, and then really automatically generating this. So this is one example how we can access the large-scale data, and of course we can have all kind of bias as well. And then I'm not going to my detail. But if you look at the scientific discovery, for example, biological sciences, at the end of the day, all what matters biology, most of them, not entirely probably, but explain mechanism of biological phenomena. And that means the possible mechanism of possible combination of molecular mechanism and what kind of molecules involved. So trying to understand which genes or the molecule that's coded by a gene is interacting with other molecule and other mutated protein causing the cancer. That's something we want to know. And when we are drug discovery, what is a new molecule interact with some of the protein which causing the driving the tumor cell, and does it inhibit this? So that is the kind of thing we want to know. Sometimes like at the organ level, organ-organ interaction, sometimes like all the tissues, and sometimes like there's a cell level. It's kind of nested. So it will be a complicated nesting of this. But like at the end of the day, we'd like to know the mechanism of biological phenomena, and then how we are described is what are the mechanisms, our combinations, what are the players. And that's like this is more the canonical problem. It's not entirely, but like most of the biological science is trying to find this answer to the canonical questions. And myself, as a biologist, like I did aging study, and then initially I studied on the biological aging back in '94, like Shin Imai, who's the professor at the Washington Louis. We came up with the hypothesis. We did a very extensive computer modeling to find out which possible mechanism actually were able to explain the data. So this is a really extensive computer simulation. This is area of system biology. And we found out like a specific mechanism can explain it, and then published a paper. At that time, it was very difficult to publish like computational papers. So now you don't believe this, but it was very difficult at the time, back in 1998. And then 20 years passed, and then all the hypothesis has been proven experimentally, but it took a lot of time, actually. It's a long, long period. Like, the question is, can we actually shorten this? Can we actually more systematically generate the hypothesis, and then come up with a series of experiments that can verify very quickly? So like right now, the life cycle of the biomedical research is very long. Take like a couple decades easy. And if you can actually shorten that to the 1 decade or a few years, we can seriously accelerate biomedical science. That means we are saving a lot of people's life. Okay, now, that requires the power of computing and the power of AI, and therefore we want to create an engine for scientific discovery. So if you go to like a fundamental principle of scientific discovery is we want to create like a massive hypothesis space. So like a scientific discovery, if you go to the very fundamental view, is the generation of a hypothesis that makes sense, and then prioritize it, go to experiment, and verify it. And that's a loop for the, we might have like something different, but like I think like let's stick to this. Like this is one of the very fundamental principles. Like serendipity or like accident is considered to be hypothesis being generated in the outlier space where people haven't initially thought about. And that would be, that can be interpreted in the search space structure. And then actually look at it, like, some of the cases of the Nobel, and then just to give two examples, which is the Shinya Yamanaka's discovery of iPS cell. And he looked at the database and found out that 24 genes in the database can possibly reprogram the cell. And he just put it everything, and then managed to find the gene wall enable reprogramming, and then he actually did a liver and water experiments in optimization, found out the 4 elementary genes that can reprogram a cell. That is the genesis of the iPS. And so this is, if you look at this is search and optimization process. And it's a conducting polymer, and this is the Shirakawa, Higa, and then McDermott, 3 of them. And Professor Shirakawa at the Kyoto University actually initially found the polyethylene thin film formations, and this was actually one of the intern from Korea scrap experiment, and they put like a chemical in a 1,000 times more dense than it's supposed to be, and he starts seeing these polymer formations, and then they get the optimizations, and then another optimization to find the make the thin film conductive polymer. So there's 2 rounds of search and optimizations. The initial key for the search was accidental experimental failure, which this intern put like 1,000 times more dense agent than it was supposed to be. So like this is like expansion of the search space as well. So then if that is the case, like let's push this hypothesis, and we want to have like a connected lab to be able to automate the experiment, and then we can start from a task-specific one, we integrate, and we want to have like an autonomy. So like a strategy is rather than like having a highly autonomous in the very limited domain, which actually Roskin already did. So we know that path. We know how we can expand it. Let's take another path now, is to create a connected research lab and the AI assistance for each process, and then have like a highly autonomous agent who can control those AI agents. And that is another path. So like we actually trying like 2 paths, and then One example is like my lab in Okinawa, this is the OIST. We have a project called the Manta project that is the fully automated like a metagenome sequencing. And one of the most complex biomedical issue is gut microbials. So like gut microbials is known to affect our immunity, aging, and also like a CNS. We know that the microbial state is impacting dementia, Parkinson's, autism, and my lab also found out the microbial status impacts in the how effectively vaccine can create like antibodies and T-cell cross-reactivity. That was a stunning result which we found out. And so that's microbials, millions of different ones, so dynamic, and each individual has a different portfolio. And it's affected by the food intake and the herbal medicine and the environment and genetics, and it affects like all the protein and genes and the enzyme and probably virome on our body. So this is one of the most possibly the most complicated, complex system we can tackle. And that's why we thought this is the ideal target for the AI and robotics to go for it. So this is a subway chart, is like a very simple example of all the process of going to the sample preparation for the metagenome sequencing for the gut microbiome. And each process now done by the technicians, we automate every single one of those processes and they make it very precise. So we have like all the systems that combine together with the robotics, and then every motions, and then how many seconds to one process, next process, like how many seconds in between, how you're gonna do this, like everything fully automated. And in the result is stunning. We are now writing papers, like we have like a very consistent reproducible result, and people haven't thought about. And I think like, when we talk about biology, biologists might think like there's an innate variability with the cell or body. Yes, we have. At the same time, like quite substantial part of variability for the one experiment, the other, has been introduced by the human artifact, by the technician or procedural, variabilities. And we like to remove that. So like at this moment in the Manta project, we want to have like an automated lab. And it's not so much an AI and hypothesis generation. We just change the data and at the high precision. Now the next stage is we're going to have an AI system to be able to tell what kind of analysis we should do, what kind of sample we should take, and then what kind of additional experiments. So like we have done with the metagenome. We are working on the metabolome right now. And then, so this year, next year, I think we're going to complete like a fully automated metabolome analysis at high precision. And then we're going to go for the epigenetics, and we're going to go for like, all the cell experiments. So that is the kind of next 2-4 years, we're going to build up like a fully automated, high precision experimental platform in the lab. And then we're going to run the system. And why this is important? Because one is the human cognition, the other thing is precision. The other aspect is like how you're going to discover this, major science discovery is not monotonous. It's not non-monotonic. Okay, so for example, if you're like a temporal order discoveries, and then if you actually value like an impact of research, if things are going well, like you discover something more important, and you consider something more important coming, that's easy. Like you gain more confidence, you keep going. But the thing is not that easy. Sometimes like you find something important, you find something, this is like a failure, well, I get some knowledge, but maybe not be significant. So like you might start thinking like, this is the wrong path. But of course, like a next one out of that could be really the game changer. And this horizon effect is always a problem with the AI search, and that's also applied for the scientific discovery. And it's very difficult for people to be motivated, and you can't really ask a postdoc, okay, you probably screw up the next 3 years, but please do it. And then your postdoc say, hey, what's going to happen with my life? You can't, people actually think, try to do things they think is important and get them more result early, rather than like, trying to bet on the over the horizon. Now, some people do, but like it's very difficult to convince a student or like even the funding agency. We are losing the game now, but like I said, there's a game changer. And then funding agency managers say, okay, this guy's crap. It's very difficult to keep funding, but like it's a reality of the science. This and the many discovery will happen like this. For example, like a CRISPR-Cas9. It's really sweeping the genome editing, but like a CRISPR-Cas9 was discovered by the immune system of the archaea. which is very fundamental, very interesting, but it's never considered to be the really the most exciting, frankly speaking, most exciting. But the discovery made by Jennifer Doudna and Marie Charpentier actually overnight completely changed the way to handle the genome editing. So those things happen. Now also the scientific discovery has open-ended. If you look at the AlphaGo is the big but finite game, and you know every information. But science is boundary we don't know. It's more complex. It's a much bigger space. At the same time, a very interesting thing on AlphaGo is AlphaGo, based on the large-scale data of all the past game played in a Go. AlphaGo 0 starts from scratch. And very quickly, AlphaGo 0 outperform AlphaGo. Because the AlphaGo most likely skewed the search space because it's a human bias, because that's the kind of a play human can make a Go. Human think it's very important, think it is powerful, but the reality of the AlphaGo 0 tells us that intuition may not be right. There may be a much better gameplay strategy in a game of Go which people haven't thought about before in a long history of Go. Go has 1,000 years of history. So same thing might happen in a scientific discovery. We think some of the areas are important, but we might find some other places that's disruptive, more disruptive, has a really game-changer discovery, and we probably cannot notice that. And so running the system automatic, beyond the capability human can do at the precision, tireless, efficiency, and no psychological barrier or worry about the career aspirations. It will actually give us a completely different perspective on how we do science. At the same time, optimization is very important. This is how you can AlphaGo very quickly going, but last 5%, that was very important. It takes a long time. And at GT Sophy, same thing. If you go to 95%, beat 9% of the drive gamers, that was very quick. Then you're gonna be the top player. Takes a lot of training time, and that part is very incremental, very subtle. It's very difficult actually to get that if you try that doing a human being. Okay, so then you might, one of the last thing is that you might ask then asking right question is very important science. Yes, the reason is because our career is limited. We have to come up with the result in 10 years, 20 years, otherwise you will not be in a current position, right? So therefore you have to ask right questions. But if you do the AI, I think it's still valid to have a right, asking right question, but maybe you can ask all the questions possible and the significant answer may be there. So this might actually dramatically change the way we do science. And of course, I'm not really denying the importance of asking right questions because we want to have some result. We cannot wait forever, even for the AI scientists. So some kind of asking right questions is important, but I think the range of the question can be much broader. We can ask a much broader question, and something unexpected might come up. And then we might have maybe one scientist or distribution community of science, and then we have this distributed processing system in Oyster, which we call the Borg, and some people worry about that name, but anyway, don't worry about it. We're going to create the book anyway. And then, of course, ethical considerations, all those will be important because this is going to potentially have a huge game-changing scientific result. Okay, final slide. So going for this research, we'll see alternative form of scientific research. Also, maybe we'll see alternative form of intelligence, which I think will be very important. And then accelerating science at unprecedented speeds because this is automatic. It's possible once it get that on the fly, might have a Nobel quality of discovery every week or so, because it's going fast. Okay, so that would be a game changer. So I think it's really important that this will be built properly and to be controlled by the good hand. And otherwise, we're going to pose ourselves a great risk of misuse of this kind of system. But I think I think we need to go for it because we have a lot of issues that we have solved. Planetary issues, climate change, resource issues, biomedical. And if we got the COVID is not done, but if avian flu, when they have the vaccine as soon as possible, we'll have a cure for many diseases. So we need to push the science, and I think this is the best bet that we can make. And machine might evolve by itself, maybe, we'll see. Well, thank you very much. I think I would like to for the questions.